Get started, I'll call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the October 17th, 2019 Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. First item on our agenda today is Alahi Residence, Chapter 219. How are you? Just your name for the record, please.
Kenneth Van Helden with Hawkins Webb Jacob.
Okay. All right, John.
All right. The planning department has received and reviewed a Chapter 219 coastal erosion hazard line permit application to add wood deck additions to an existing wood deck, with the proposed deck addition being 26.5 feet by 10 feet, totaling 265 square feet. Remove existing wooden boardwalk and existing steps, and construct new wooden steps to the new deck addition to the backyard. The site is developed on a .19 acre parcel with one-story single-family residence, a one-car garage under the dwelling, an existing raised wood deck and shed in the RB80 zoning use district on the north side road of Wading River, New York. Figure one on page 2 of my staff report has an aerial view of the subject parcel along Creek Road. And figure 2 is a picture from the street view of the subject parcel. The application is to add a wooden deck, add wood deck additions to an existing wood deck, with the proposed deck addition being 265 square feet, and remove existing wooden boardwalk and steps. The New York DEC has issued a tidal wetlands permit effective September 9th, 2019 to 2024. All equipment will be limited to trucks transporting construction supplies and materials to construction site. In a letter dated October 10th, 2019, the town's consulting engineer had no objection taken to the proposed design and improvements. With regards to SECRA, the current resolution on for today is specifically to determine the SECRA type action so that the applicant can go before the Zoning Board of Appeals and get relief for an area variance. As discussed between Mr. Ehlers and Ms. Thomas, if the application seeks ZBA relief, the Planning Board must determine SECRA through a resolution. After SECRA has been determined, the applicant can seek relief, and once the ZBA has made a determination, the Planning Board can act on the application. So the staff recommends that the Planning Board assume lead agency status under SECRA, declare the action as unlisted, and issue a negative declaration for the proposed action, with environmental review being optional and not recommended. Staff also recommends that no approval of the application is to be granted until the Zoning Board of Appeals has heard and made a determination of an area variance. Does the board have any questions?
So the variance is exactly for what?
To extend the deck 10 feet, because they were here last year. To
Okay, but
extend,
they don't have enough room.
yes, correct.
And how much room are they short? Just curious.
To extend the deck another 10 feet.
Extra 10 feet.
An extra 10 feet seaward.
And they have DEC approval.
Correct, yes.
I'm confused about the first floor and second floor. Are they putting another story on this, or is this the second story?
That's the first floor.
This is
That
the
would be-
first floor, and that's the basement?
That's the garage on there.
Garage, okay. So they're gonna put another level on top?
Yes.
Okay. What's this first floor addition over here in the front? I see the deck. So what is this? That's it, you call that an addition? For the place for the oil tank as well as?
These two portions are first floor additions.
Right.
Like where that deck is,
Yeah.
this would go straight across. Because of the actually. Shows the same thing. first-story addition on it, on this portion here. Sorry,
This,
Uh,
two additions.
yes, across, how far, I guess it goes into about there.
Oh, there's a deck addition, I see, okay.
It's, yes, along the side.
Okay.
There's nobody across the street, right? It's all wetlands?
It's all wetlands.
Yeah.
And we have.
This is something we approved already, I'm assuming you're saying, right? This has already been approved?
We have the NJ from across the street as well, from DEC.
Question.
I'm sorry.
This proposed second floor addition has already been approved?
Yes. Building permit number 181183.
Okay, so now what they're trying to do is just,
This additional deck area. in the
okay,
back.
okay.
Basically, there was a design change and we were,
Design change for the deck, so you,
he
Okay.
wanted it to be in accordance with most of the other properties there.
and when I went to visit the site, the decks for the neighbors are further out than his deck, so it would be more in line with the neighbor's deck.
That's it.
That's what DEC was, that's what DEC was,
Yeah.
if you go out further, as long as you stay even.
That's his neighbor's deck and that's the line of his where it is now.
Okay.
He won't be quite as far in as the neighbor, but close.
Oh, that's the neighbor's deck and
Yeah.
that's his, okay, gotcha. Okay, good luck with ZBA.
Okay, any other questions from the
No.
board?
No.
We'll take up the resolution later today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is Blue Water Development LLC. Yes, please.
You can.
Good evening. Okay, so I put this on for a discussion just to kind of update the board about the application. It goes back quite a ways. We had originally gotten an application in 2007 that was for conversion of the existing house and construction of 2 new buildings, and we did a staff report. Then there was a change of plan to build a new building, and then that was considered withdrawn due to inactivity. So then we got a new application in 2014 that wasn't considered complete until 2015, and it showed the building perpendicular to Edwards Avenue. I was told not to review that because it was going to change, and then we got a plan for the building parallel to Edwards
Who
Avenue.
told you not to review that?
The applicant at the time,
Okay.
because they were gonna change it, so. And then I did a report in 2016, which I did provide to the board in an email today, if anybody wanted to look at it. Excuse me. And then there was quite a gap until we got a revised plan in 2019. I believe that was due to, they had to go to the Pine Barrens Commission for a hardship permit, which they did get. And I had spoken to Sean and said that I would include anything that remained from that report as a condition of the preliminary approval. Subsequent to that, I did get Vinnie's comments and provided them to Sean, and they revised the plan to address Vinnie's comments. But there are still some issues in Vinnie's October 16th, 2019 memo. So I just wanted to, I feel this is pretty much our standard preliminary resolution. Just wanted to go through the conditions that I included. If the board feels differently about some of them, we can discuss that. The building was made a bit smaller to meet the sanitary flow for the site, but the floor plan hasn't been modified, so that would have to be modified. The for the sanitary flow and also for parking calculations, the office space has to be less than or equal to 15% of the square footage. Otherwise, we pull that out for parking calculations. In this case, if the condition is keeping the office space equal or less than 15% of the gross square footage and indicating percentage of office space on the floor plan. Obviously, they'd need more parking stalls if we included the office space separately. And some of these items are just items that remained from the 2016 report, indicating in the zoning data table that they're required to have a minimum open space area of 20% and the square footage and percent actually proposed. The Pine Barrens hardship resolution said that they would be keeping 35% of the site as open space. And they would have to file covenants for the Pine Barrens.
And the site plan complies with that?
It appears to be, but I would like them to state that in the data table. I figured it out based on, the amount of impervious surface, and it definitely appears to comply, but it would be better to have it actually on the plan. As far as the fire marshal goes, I did get his comments in 2016, and I have provided him with subsequent plans, and I did reach out and ask to get more information.
From
because-
us or from the fire marshal?
From the fire marshal.
Oh, okay, because I don't have the 2016
I
comments.
did provide them to Chuck Thomas at the time. I mailed them to Chuck Thomas and the applicant.
Can I make a copy of that?
Sure. I don't know how much you'll get out of it because it just lists a lot of code sections.
Okay.
So I reached out to the fire marshal because I wanted to know exactly what they had to do. But I did include a condition in here because I wanted to move things along, that they would address any remaining applicable items in the fire marshal's memo after they review the last plan. As far as the consulting engineer goes, there's a comment about the color-corrected temperature of the LED wall-mounted fixtures, and there's a comment about the sidewalk improvements. And this has kind of been ongoing in Vinnie's comments in the last 3 memos about the sidewalk improvements. So that would, I put in that would have to be addressed. And one of the things Vinnie does bring up is that the sidewalk should be closer to the property line. Right now, there's about, it's shown as a 3-foot wide sidewalk instead of a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and then it's set off the property line, so the Mow strip is very narrow, so it would be better to shift it closer to the property line and have a wider Mow strip. Also, the sidewalk where it crosses the apron is lower on the apron. Usually it's up towards the top where it would be more level. So that's where I said, provide that the public sidewalk will not exceed the maximum cross slope of 2% to meet ADA regulations, including where it crosses the driveway apron. And then on the plan, the curb ramps for the sidewalks, both on the public sidewalk and interior to the site, are very oddly depicted because these kind of circular things, they should be depicted properly like they are on all other site plans. Also, if a regular handicap ramp is provided here, there is not a landing, so someone will come up the ramp. And I noticed this when I flipped over to the lighting plan after I wrote the resolution. They're showing your typical type of handicapped ramp here, but someone doesn't have they're required to have like a 3-foot wide landing at the top where they would meet the sidewalk. So in this case, what's called a parallel curb ramp would be more apropos. It's kind of like a dropped curb, and then the slope portions are to either side of it. And again, these handicapped curb ramp type of comments were also in my 2016 report. So I think that's a fairly easy fix. And then, the Pine Barrens Commission had indicated that they're disturbing 100% of the site, and that was also my feeling. However, we have this kind of strange clearing limit, which is very irregular, and it goes through landscaping. So I would like them to just indicate the property line is the clearing limit. They've paid the fee for the entire site being disturbed. And then as far as street trees, they had originally shown this tree, existing tree was to remain, and they showed 4 proposed street trees, and I included an existing tree here as a street tree. They've now indicated that this tree will be removed. They've deleted the street tree here. So what I had said in my report was just to add a street tree over here, and they could maybe add one over here, because otherwise they'd be kind of not evenly spaced. And we don't want one over here maybe for safety reasons. If the board feels that these trees on these islands, because the board has the right to change the locations of the street trees off the street at their discretion. If the board feels that these street trees would be included as a street tree, that's fine. I can remove that condition.
You definitely want red maple?
I wouldn't change it because the Pine Barrens Commission approved the species, and that's a species they approved.
What's the purpose of the one back there?
Well, as you're coming up Edwards, it would kind of screen parking in the building. Whatever the board feels is most apropos, that's fine.
Stan?
Yep.
How about if we go through everything, and then if the applicant agrees or disagrees, we'll go
Okay.
over those issues.
That sounds fine. And while I was looking at this, I noticed the New York aster, it's a small flowering plant, is listed as a shrub, so I just indicated they should remove it, that it's not a shrub. As far as the landscaping goes, they had some additional plantings originally in the landscapes schedule. And I indicated that less were shown on the plan, so it didn't match the planting schedule. And since these bearberries and New York aster flowers are very small, 1 to 2 gallon at planting, I felt we should have more of them rather than reducing the amount shown. The amount shown should match what was in the schedule.
So you're saying that this table didn't match what was shown on here?
Right, there were more in the table than shown on the plan.
Let it go through and go
Okay,
through it.
well, I just know the planning board likes nice landscaping, so that was my comment, and also that, these plants are shown quite large when they're actually very small. So my comment in the report had been, show the amount that was shown on the planting schedule and make the symbols smaller if you need to make them fit. If the board feels that the plantings as shown are okay, then I can remove those conditions. Another condition was that an irrigation well be shown for the irrigation water, and I did not see that was addressed. That
It's
had been.
interesting, it's not recommended by the water district.
No, and we're gonna object to it, because it's a 1 acre parcel with very little landscaping, and I don't think it's gonna impact the water district.
Again, that's up to the board,
Well,
but
the water district basically said, I don't think
they
they mentioned that.
didn't mention
They
an
said you needed
irrigation
rain
well.
sensors, that's all.
Um,
I think there's even some better stuff than the rain sensors that they can apply. That's really computer generated.
Well, I just included it based on previous planning board members' comments that, so
Well, I
if
think-
the
I
board
think you're
feels
right,
it's
Karen,
small.
because basically we've been, other commercial applications, we've been telling them to put wells in.
Yeah, for,
Big lots.
And then the last thing for revision on the plans was that the lighting plan be revised, so the specification sheet for the building mounted fixture and the description in the schedule, lighting schedule indicated that it's 3,000 Kelvin. They propose 5,000 Kelvin. And then other things that I have listed here are just things that would be included as part of the final site plan approval. I include those just for transparency. So that's about it.
All right, so let's start, I'm trying to, like, the goal of the town, I think, is to try to build assessed valuation, get it on the tax rolls before March 1st. So I'm trying to help the town do that. And what I'm asking you to do is, when we get through this and you decide what you want to do, is adopt this as a final site plan resolution with the conditions, and just have us submit the Mylars with the changes, because all of these things add another month or two to the process. And if you want to get assessed valuation started before March 1st, we need to get in the ground. So what I'm going to ask in the end, or my ask when we go through this, is that this be a final resolution with the conditions to be met in the Mylars, and that way I can prepare the resolution, not the resolution, I can prepare the covenants and restrictions you need, and I can prepare the easements, and I can do them all at once. Right now, I can only prepare the easements because I really don't know the covenants and restrictions. So let's start with Vinnie's memo and the lighting. We've done what we think is correct. So I'm quoting from Vinnie Gaudiello's September 12, 2019 letter. The specifications for the wall-mounted fixture meets the design standards for the zoning code and appear to be acceptable. That is highlighted. That is in his memo that we received after the public hearing.
However, the specifications
Keep
show,
going.
okay, he was referring to the pole mounted,
Uh-huh.
but,
So Vinnie Gaudiello said that the wall-mounted meet the specifications. That's what we gave you. We get it.
well, it may
If
have
it's-
changed since that plan. I can get that
No,
plan.
it didn't.
I mean, I don't.
No, it didn't. It didn't. So what I'm saying is, I'm asking you just to let us submit a final plan with the 3,000 on it. That's not gonna be a big issue. So let's go through some of these things.
So the 3,000 is not an issue?
No, it's not an issue, but, you know, the problem is that, you know, when your planning engineer, gives you this and says it meets the specifications, and we just do the other one, you know, now we're back here a month later having a conversation about something that this should have been addressed to begin with. And you can look at it, it hasn't changed in the plan. I checked with the architect. So let's talk about this sidewalk. This is one of those sidewalks that's going to go nowhere. The reason it's set off the property line is because you're asking for an easement for road, which I think makes sense, and I wish the town was able to get that from the school district, but you're asking for an irrevocable dedication of an easement to widen the road. If you put the sidewalk in that easement, we're gonna be ripping the sidewalk off. That's why the sidewalk is set back. But I wanna ask you something even better. It makes 0 sense to put a sidewalk in that connects, it's never connecting to the school district, I don't think, and it's not gonna connect to the Ratto property unless they,
School district doesn't have any,
no,
doesn't have sidewalks?
no.
Did
So-
we require BOLA to put in sidewalk?
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the project.
What I'm asking is we'll put it in a covenant, and we will build the sidewalk to the town specifications. If the school district and Ratto come in and there's gonna be a sidewalk that connects someplace, we will be under legal obligation from the planning board to put the sidewalk in to match up to whatever they do. Because it really makes no sense. Why would I put a sidewalk on, I don't know what the, 200 feet across the front of a piece of property that goes nowhere? So I'm asking the planning board to consider that as a covenant, and we'll build it to the specifications, the 2%. But so that's my first issue. In terms of,
Or should we resolve that issue before we go
okay,
on?
yeah.
I don't know, Chairman.
So, but I'm still, I hear what you're saying, but where are we with the lighting? We're gonna do them
The
one at a
lighting,
time?
I had a condition saying that the lighting plan will be revised, so the spec sheet and the luminaire schedule indicate 3,000 Kelvin instead of 5,000 Kelvin.
You don't have an issue with that, and obviously we can't ask for clarification because Vinnie's not here.
no, we don't have an issue with it, but this is, you gave us this to respond to. That's what we responded to.
I don't know if Vinnie missed it, I don't know.
did.
It's just
It's
a small
obvious.
change, it's
But you're okay with
easy
it?
to make.
It's,
All right.
we'll make it, but I don't
So-
wanna do it as a separate site plan, I wanna do it on the final. So, and I'll tell you what's gonna be,
I don't know if we're gonna agree to go right to final.
okay.
We'll take that up at the end of the discussion.
Yeah,
Okay,
listen,
that's
I'm,
fine.
I'm here to try to help both the applicant and the town. If,
But, you know, I understand your time constraints and you wanna get it done and the reasons you've mentioned why you wanna get it done, but I would ask, what happened between 2016 and 2019?
My
Did it take
clients
3
didn't own it.
years?
my clients just bought the property.
So, I mean, that's not a reflection of the
No.
planning department or planning board that there was a 3-year delay in there.
No,
And now
but-
for you to wanna rush it and say that it's because you wanna get it on the tax rolls, I don't know that we
No,
wanna.
we submitted the comments to this back in April, and it took from, I think it was April, I'd have to
We
look.
got revised plans in May.
May, okay.
Okay,
That's, you
I-
know, they're busy.
All right, so we're in agreement that's 3K.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I'm fine with
There's
that.
now
one
the
issue.
sidewalk.
Sidewalk, I'd
That's
like to
fine.
ask you if you wanna talk about that, I'd like to.
I
ask
don't
you-
have an issue, like you said, nobody has a sidewalk over there. If you agree when it's warranted to do it at town specifications, I don't have a problem with
There's
that.
a, there's a note on this plan which says existing concrete curb. It shows it going around.
That's the
into
school,
Into the school district
yeah, we
property.
requested that to the school district when we met with them.
So there is a curb already there.
Yeah, but it's just, it goes,
It just goes.
Just to their
maybe-
property.
yeah, and it's a mountable curb for the
Yeah.
buses.
Mhm.
Dumbest entrance ever,
Hmm?
dumbest entrance to ever designed.
But it's just a curb and then
Yeah.
it's grass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sidewalk, okay?
So we can covenant the sidewalk, is that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
No
Right,
problem.
so we're gonna, let me just make some notes. 3, covenant,
Sidewalks to nowhere make no sense.
sidewalk.
Yeah, but I can think of a couple times where we didn't, where we should have, like on Cromer. So, but here, I truly think it,
And we would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if the school district came in, the Ratto parcel came in, the next one, they're all single-family residences.
Well, I don't know that we would word it that way. I think it would be the town's determination when, if and
Yes.
when.
Okay, so, and,
Okay.
and that's fine, but,
So,
So-
it would just be like a condition that would be covenanted?
all right.
Finally got paved.
oh, it did?
The handicap ramps, I will ask the planning, I will ask the engineer, I talked to him about him, he said that these are just the way that he's depicted them and other engineers have depicted them.
I've never seen
they're-
this
Well, if
depiction in
it's,
my
if
15
it's a
years
matter of
with the
depicting
department.
them and actually how they're constructed, it's not an issue. Are you saying that they're gonna be constructed properly?
They're gonna be constructed properly,
Okay.
ADA compliant, I mean,
All right.
I don't know that,
So I'm gonna strike that condition?
you can leave it as it has to be constructed ADA
Yeah, I'd
compliant.
leave it as it has to be constructed as compliant.
Who did the survey work, Sean?
Nathan. Show the limit of disturbance, we agree. I think, I talked to Chuck, he said that he just didn't wanna do a line over a line, so he was more creative. So the final plan is going to show that the limits of disturbance are the property line. Just put that here. Okay. Property line is clean, I already wrote that down. Let's see, put in 2 more, we'll put in 2 more red maples. I don't know, they have to redraw the design if you want us to, I mean, they don't wanna put in 2 red maples, and they lost one of them last night in the storm. I don't know which one it is, which side is the,
This is the south side.
yeah, they lost one, if there was a big one back here, they lost one back here. I mean, I don't know that, if you're coming up Edwards Avenue, you can't see the back of this parcel anyway.
Well, it would be wherever the planning board would wanna put it, basically. I think we really should have one here to match the other 3. If the board doesn't want to include another one, or
Well, I think it
wants
would
to
look
include-
nicer in the front too,
Look
I would
nicer
agree
in
with that.
front.
I like red maple, so put in additional red maple in the front. Is that the consensus?
Eliminate the one on the side, which you can't see anyway.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Bike rack, I don't know who's gonna use the bike rack, but if you want it turned, we'll turn the bike rack.
This was included on the plan previously. It's a guideline in the industrial C
Where is the
zoning
bike
district to
rack?
have a bike rack. I just thought, since they're making changes anyway, it would be more practical to have it perpendicular to the driveway, so it can be accessed from both sides, and the trees wouldn't grow into it, that's all.
I'll have them move bike rack. So the Astor thing, I mean, if we're gonna change it, that's not a big deal. So here's the biggest deal. It takes Chuck forever to draw these. These were not meant to be counted. This is what counts. What's on the schedule counts. He's building 80, they're putting in 80, what's it, Blackberry? What do we call it?
They're putting in 68, they
No, they're
originally
putting in
proposed
80,
88.
whatever in here is what they're putting in.
Right, they're proposing 88,
Right.
excuse me, 68, not the 88 that was originally proposed. And they're proposing 26 New York Asters, not the 40 originally proposed.
So he doesn't wanna have to draw them in here. Is-
Okay, if you want to change it in the schedule and make a, you know, you can make a notation, you know,
Okay, because this takes forever. This, how,
So as long as this is accurate, that's what I
that's
was
what
saying
he's,
before.
that's what it's,
Yeah.
they're going
and put a
by.
notation, you know, planting schedule trumps what's shown on the
So
plan.
are we changing it from 68 to 88?
Yes,
Okay.
and 26 to 40.
Changing,
And I can change this.
what did we say? We're changing
indicate that.
68 to
88.
88, and that is Bearberry, which grows like a weed, doesn't it? Once it gets going. And we're changing,
Yes, the shrubs.
From
what-
26 to 40.
from 26 to 40. Astor. Beek.
And then
Note.
just maybe an indication, numbers in planting schedule
Mhm.
rule.
Planting schedule. Determinative. Right. I don't wanna have him make smaller again,
fine.
he hand drew these things. So you're okay with not changing what it
Yes.
looks like, okay? And then the irrigation well, I don't think an irrigation well on a 40,000
It's not
square foot is
warranted on a
warranted.
one acre lot, I agree.
And I-
No, okay,
All right, so no well.
so I'll strike that one.
So, my question to you, and really, if you turn this, and I don't know what the downside is of turning this into a final approval and just reviewing the Mylars, and if it works, because that saves me the opportunity. It saves you a step, a resolution, seeing me again, although I know you love seeing me. But it also allows me to start doing covenants, start doing the easements, get the final Mylars signed by the health department, and then if everything's on them, you just sign them. There's no need to review it again.
The only issue is that, number one, the code was amended to say that you have to do a preliminary approval and a final approval. And number two, this.
Who amended that? Did I do that?
This resolution doesn't have all the conditions that would have to be covenanted, because I wrote it
Right,
up as a
then-
preliminary approval.
And that's what I wanna see, because my work can't get started, well, it's getting started, but I wanna get the covenants and everything done all at once. Because to do the easement, to do the covenant, Dick has to review both. I don't wanna, and the title search is only good for a certain period of time. So if you could do it all as a preliminary / final, I just don't see the downside to it in this case. It hurts us, cause if we go get the Mylar signed and you're not happy with it, then I gotta go back and do it again, but.
Dick, does a code allow us to do something like that?
I haven't read it in the last, recently, but I don't see how you're gonna vary, I'm hearing two different things. You need the covenants, they're not in the resolution, so you can't adopt this resolution.
No, you can't adopt this resolution.
So you're really asking them not to adopt this resolution tonight.
To adopt a
but
final.
to amend the resolution, but you want them to amend the resolution before you submit the new set of plans. And they're saying they want the new set of plans before they do a final resolution, I think is what I'm hearing.
I don't know
So
what.
normally they'd adopt this resolution tonight, which doesn't cost you any time. You'd submit the Mylar pursuant to it, and then they'd adopt the
Well-
final resolution.
But you can't do this one tonight because we just changed a whole bunch of things unless you
We
guys.
could do it as amended.
It's a
amended.
preliminary.
I think
We're giv-
that solves-
We're amending
Yeah,
this
it's
as a,
preliminary.
we're doing this as a
That's fine, because I'm
preliminary.
not losing any time if
I
we
don't
do it,
think
that's
we're
fine.
doing it.
No, if you can do
We're
that,
doing
then-
this as a
It
preliminary, so
just,
it's done.
it seemed to me we were kind of at the end of it, and why not just go ahead and adopt it as amended, and then submit the final Mylar, we do the final resolution with the covenants, and we're done.
That's,
Good.
so I don't have to, I can submit the final Mylars as your final review documents.
If, I would recommend giving me a paper to check before
I
you do a
will.
Mylar, but.
I will.
Where's the Mylar copy?
Yeah, no, I will, and I won't get them signed by the
So,
health department.
I just want to quickly go through this just to make sure we're all on the same page. So, I'm going to take out the conditions regarding the sidewalk and the ADA ramps and replace that with conditions saying the handicap ramps will be constructed to be ADA compliant.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to add a condition that the sidewalk will be built when determined by the planning board, and it will meet all town and ADA specifications. So they're gonna add one red maple tree right here to the south of the driveway, as I had originally stated, and we're gonna take the one out on the southern part of the property. The bike rack will be turned so it's perpendicular to the driveway. The New York aster will be not called a shrub because it's not a shrub. They're going to amend the amounts of those two species and put a notation under the planting schedule that the planting schedule will determine how many plants there are. The lighting plan will be amended to show 3,000 Kelvin as indicated. And then I'm assuming there's no issues with amending the plan to meet whatever the fire marshal will say, and I will keep after the fire marshal.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it either, because I do, that one page, you don't have to give that to me, you gave that to me like 6,
Yeah, a long
8
time
months
ago.
Yeah, and there was nothing on it that I saw that I had to do.
Well, again, it says it has to comply with certain code
Right, right,
sections,
but
which I will make
That's
all
more-
attempts to find out what they mean.
Building
Um,
code, I would think.
And then I'm assuming there's no problem with amending the floor plan to correct the building dimension
Nope.
and indicate the percentage of office space and adding the amount of contiguous open space required and provided.
Nope.
Okay.
Just one suggestion on that issue with the asters and the 68 versus the 88. Just let's, on the plan, say, not the schedule, don't mess with the schedule, because it's gonna say the right number.
Right.
On the plan, say, schedule controls number of plans. So if somebody looks at the plan. they
Okay.
really look to the
Just put a
schedule.
note.
Just put it on the
Makes sense.
schedule, doesn't help on the plan.
Okay.
Doesn't look at the schedule.
Okay.
Just a quick question, Dick. On the water district, are they requiring smart controllers on the irrigation system? You know, he said in here rain sensors, but the next step above that is what they call smart controllers.
We have a new superintendent.
I know.
As you, I'm just.
And I think that's why he wrote that.
Yeah.
Really, the smart controllers, they're no extra cost than a regular irrigation
I don't think
controller.
they'd have a problem with it. These guys are very, their company is called Organically Green, and they do pest control from an organic standpoint, so that's not gonna be an issue for them.
Okay.
I'm here on Holly Estates. We're okay with another public hearing. Do we have to have any more conversation? Because that would move you right along with it. That's like one.
Where's Greg?
I don't
You're all
have
set,
that.
Karen?
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Holly Estates is number 3 on the agenda.
Oh, is it still number three?
Yeah.
That's
Can you
that
just
big
tell
pile
them to
over
start
there.
putting that as a requirement, smart controllers?
I'll send you an email with my smart control. I'll try to be smarter control.
You save a lot of water.
Just the one that was
Yeah.
previously.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a lot of good ones like this, unfortunately. Karen, thank you.
Thank you.
So the planning department has received and reviewed an application to reapprove a 3-lot minor subdivision. This subdivision was reviewed by the planning board and originally approved in 2009. The only changes that have been made to the plan from that previously approved plan deal specifically with changes to the width and construction of the common access driveway. They were revised to comply with New York State Fire Code and fire marshal requirements. Subject parcel identified as tax map number 600-76-2-3 is a 5.59 acre parcel which is located on the north side of New York State Route 25A, also known as Parker Road. The subject site is located approximately 2,100 feet west of the intersection of Parker Road and Hulse Landing Road. Subject parcel has approximately 240 feet of frontage on New York 25A and extends north approximately 1,300 feet. Parcel is presently improved with a single-family residence towards the front of the property, which was issued a letter of pre-existing use on May 21st, 2008. Proposed minor subdivision is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA as per Town Code Section 225-12B with no further environmental review required. Just to go over the history of the subdivision a little bit, as I stated, the subdivision was originally approved by Planning Board Resolution number 98 dated October 1st, 2009. There was a public hearing held by the Planning Board on January 8th, 2009. That original approval included conditions specifically dealing with open space covenants for each of the lots has a covenanted open space towards the rear of their building lot. Health Department approval, recording of a common cross-access agreement in a form acceptable to the Planning Board. Covenants that no vehicular access along Route 25A to lot number 1 will be allowed other than the common access driveway. No COs will be issued for proposed buildings on lots 2 or 3 until a permit from New York State DOT has been issued. They needed to amend the drainage design. Final plat needed to be prepared by a licensed surveyor. Stormwater pollution prevention plan need to be approved, and that no clearing, grading, or excavating shall take place until approval of the final plat. The time frame for that original approval for the signature of the map expired on March 17th, 2009. I'm sorry. No, wait. I believe that's 2010. I believe that's a typo. I apologize. It was March 2010. At that time, the applicant, pursuant to applicable town law, applied for extensions, and they were granted 2 90-day extensions set to expire on September 13th, 2010. The map never got signed. At that point, the approval expired. They reapplied for the subdivision, presented an amended map which addressed the drainage issues. Another public hearing was held on December 2nd, 2010, and the subdivision was reapproved by Planning Board Resolution 2011, number 10, dated February 17th, 2011. The subsequent approval included many of the similar conditions and also referenced the recreation fee as enumerated in Section 108-96 of the Old Town Code. Again, this approval expired on August 17th, 2011, was granted 2 more 90-day extensions, and a 3rd and final extension, which finally expired on February 3rd, 2012. So now we're here to, in essence, reapprove. It's gonna be considered a reapproval of the new subdivision. As I said, the only change that's been made is to the width and design of the access road. We've received comments from the fire marshal. The road has been designed to fire marshal standards. There was one comment from the fire marshal regarding on-site fire service mains. We did receive a letter from the Wading River Fire Department chief dated September 4th, 2019. They agreed with not requiring like a cistern for fire service, with the condition that private dwellings constructed that are over 2,500 square feet of living space will be required to install a sprinkler protection system. So that eliminated the need for them to provide for fire service cisterns. Spoke with Drew Dillingham, the town engineer. The original approval, the SWIP was originally approved back in October of 2010. There were conditions that certifications from each contractor and subcontractor needed to be provided. They need to complete the 4-hour training course administered by the DEC, and they need to detail a construction schedule. The original conditions of that approval still need to be satisfied, but they won't have to go for additional SWIP review. So that SWIP can just carry through. So what I've got a resolution on to schedule a public hearing, because as I said, the last time that this subdivision application was aired in the public realm was December of 2010. So I think it's appropriate to just renotice it. Property owners may have changed. Beyond that, any approvals would need to include similar conditions to the first two approvals that were granted. And that's where we're at.
Is any application for Bates and Health Department?
Yes, the only thing we have to do now is retest the wells, so we're basically through the health department.
Okay.
The only thing, they didn't sign the Mylars.
Takes
In 2018, I recontacted the health department and submitted the few things that I could, but the one thing that needed to be done is I have to retest, I don't know if they have piezometers or test well, I don't know, I don't remember what wells are in there, but they have to retest them, and that was one of the only things. That big bag over there has
They
that.
wouldn't accept the existing private well?
Not for the
In the house
two
in front?
houses.
In the house
Actually,
in
no,
front?
I think the house in front, I think they had to put a new well in.
Oh,
I think there was a new well put in that one.
It says it's an abandoned one. though.
private
Yeah.
test well.
Yeah, I think that's a service by a new well, and I don't think you're ever gonna see public, I can't imagine you're gonna see public water drag this far.
Mm-mm. No. Be nice if it was, but it never happened.
No. Would the hearing be November 7th? What date, what time?
The meeting would be at 7 p.m.
Line up.
Okay. Any
We're
other
okay?
questions? All right, thank you.
That was quick, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Very kind.
Moving right along.
Okay, next item on the agenda, number 4, Villas at Roanoke.
Lady? I got mine here instead.
Yeah.
Mr. Cuddy was coming, but.
Mr. Cuddy's at another meeting, I don't think he's gonna be able to.
Okay.
I'll get through this as quickly as possible.
Just your names for the record, please.
What's that?
Not Molly. Doug Adams, Young Young. Gerald Simone, Kendall Associates.
All right, so we're here for further discussion of the Villas at Roanoke proposed major subdivision. What we have here is the transfer of development rights yield map. As the planning board will recall, we have previously seen this, an as-of-right yield map which demonstrated the as-of-right development yield of 6 lots was reviewed and approved by the Riverhead Planning Board by Resolution 19-46. Applicant had prepared a 14-lot increased development TDR yield map. At that time, there were questions from myself as well as Mr. Gaudiello about drainage. The map has since been revised. As opposed to 14 building lots, they've now reduced the number to 13 building lots. They are now including a recharge basin to handle the manager of stormwater. Plans were reviewed to referred to Vinnie Gaudiello, and he did review them. And his comments, in summary, were: in evaluating the maps, we are confident that the roadway layout with the designated recharge basin area as shown on the alternate transfer of development rights map could be designed in a manner that would satisfy the drainage design criteria of the subdivision road and drainage standards. At that time, he finds the current map to be acceptable, including the 13 lots. Now, as I understand, it's the applicant's intention to take the yield map and try to sell it to Suffolk County. Based on engineering comments and my review of it, planning staff is satisfied with the current layout. The only question is, and in speaking with Vinnie, he recommended the majority of the stormwater be managed in the roadway and have this as like a possible overflow area. I did note there is an existing wetland on this property. Not sure how that would impact the design, but, I mean, that's something, if they come in and want to develop this property, they'll have to address that further, just in sort of engineering design. But in terms of just approving the yield map, I don't really see a problem with.
Where are you at with the county? I mean, do you have an unofficial?
Yes.
Okay.
We're waiting to let them know that this was, once we have a yield map approval, they were going to appraise it.
So you've been there, and it's on their radar.
Yes.
So what do you need, what do you have to submit to them now?
Um,
Resolution from us?
A resolution showing that the yield
Is
is.
accepted, right?
Accepted, yeah. You know,
Does the county have the money to buy it?
I don't know. I mean, Al Krupski says they'd like, take a shot at it. That's where he told me at Roanoke, and they came through up there, so, but, I do have some concerns of, like, when we submitted the 13, it was, as an alternate, but it wasn't, I didn't want to dismiss the 14. I'd still like to discuss it, because taking one lot out of it is, it takes a good value out of it, so I'm not completely convinced that that was necessary. Doug has some thoughts on that as to why he thought that the 14 could work, and I just would like to discuss it with you guys before we go further, if that's possible.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, sure, you go.
And of course, if we end up building this, we'd have another
Yeah, I
bite of the apple to reduce down to the 13.
Right, I understand.
Instead of buying 13 credits, or 14, you can buy 13.
Well,
There's savings right there.
I'm not buying 13, I'd be buying
It's basically the same layout.
7.
There's the extra lot on this one.
Yeah, we're at an 8, so you.
Or
I'm
you
not
just
sure if we,
downsize
I'm not sure if we just tighten things up in that, but,
65, but then what you do is you add.
oh, we just
the
took
cost
this lot and
of
made it a
development.
and made it a recharge basin.
Oh, okay.
That goes on
Or
top of that
area to deal with.
65, and then what you have is a value of the building lot.
Yeah.
And the difference is what you get paid for.
So just to revisit, from the original 14 lot map, we were before the board, I believe in some September. Just to kind of reiterate, Vinnie's comments were regarding the 14 lot yield map. The transfer development rights map substantially conforms to subdivision standards of the town code, and it would appear that the proposed roadway could be designed in a manner that conforms to the road and drainage standards. However, prior to the acceptance of a map, we recommend that the applicant's engineer demonstrate that the on-site soil conditions would be suitable for providing subsurface stormwater drainage containment systems, as opposed to having construct a recharge basin, which could impact the total lot yield. He had reviewed that, and it was kind of at the point where I don't know if they wanted to really do a fully designed, engineered plan to demonstrate that they could manage their stormwater. I mean, if you can demonstrate that you can manage your stormwater in the roadway through whatever means, I think the engineer might be acceptable to that, but those plans were not submitted.
Well, I actually did submit a letter. Do you have that?
I do have the letter here.
It's a couple of pages, including calculations, which are standard calculations that we fill in. In fact, I brought about a dozen subdivisions that we've done in the town of Riverhead, similar to this, some with less, some with more lots, but usually about the same tributary area. This is actually smaller than most of those. We've certainly done leaching pools in the roadway, in the past. And this is actually fairly accurate. It is accurate. It shows the amount of pools that we would need to manage this roughly 6.5 acres in the calculation.
Did you do test holes? Do you know the soil conditions?
Yeah, we did test holes. The soil conditions are not great. And, if we back up to the comments Vinnie initially had, it had to do with, the soil conditions and not necessarily you know, whether we were doing leaching pools or recharge basin. And I do find actually objection with his comment that you could lose a lot basically to yield to somehow get around the soil conditions. The soil conditions are the same where the recharge basin is gonna have to go. And if you dig a recharge basin there, you have to go down the same distance we'd have to go down with the leaching pools to get the clean material in order to reach the recharge basin. So, and his last set of comments that you just read before, you know, he went on to talk about this section of his letter where he talks about this map. And then in the second section, when he talks about the new map, he doesn't talk about the fact that we would still have to do all that excavation. In fact, if you did a recharge basin, it's gonna be a broader area. It's gonna require more removal of material and more importation of material. So, you know, there's kind of a bigger impact there, but that's not even where I really.
25 to 34 feet, that's,
Well, that's from grade, so we're
Yeah.
putting 12-foot pools in.
you have to go down that.
We
that
go about
far.
another 10 more feet.
Yeah.
It's not, that's a very easy in construction terms, okay? And we'd have to do the same thing in the recharge basin. The
Well, I
bottom of the
understand.
recharge basin would be about the same elevation as the bottom of these pools in the front, so. You know, so it's not, you know, I'm just saying from a constructability standpoint, it's the same issue. The passion I'm bringing to this right now is that from the beginning, the comment was about the soil conditions. And to say that you can't do a leaching structure in the road, but you can do a leaching structure over here.
Yeah, but is it
it's
typical to
not the
go
same.
30 feet deep for
Well, you go where-
recharge in a roadway?
You go where you have to go. Yeah.
In a roadway, 30 feet?
Anywhere.
That
And
just
it's not
seems
30
pretty
feet,
deep.
it's 10 more feet than we'd be going anyway.
Going where? In the
In the
recharge?
road, in the road.
But you gotta dig
This
it down
was
to the
not-
pool.
I know.
This was
So
another.
you go an
Correct.
extra 10
Correct.
feet, fill it back up with
Yeah, all the-
soil,
they basically
with sand,
dispose of lot
you're in the
numbers.
same,
The question
you do
is
that
now,
with septic
how are you
systems
gonna
all the
put a
time,
house there?
you know, when you don't have good condition.
75 feet.
Huge.
On a small lot.
And
It's not,
that-
you know, it's
yeah, I think that
it's a
led to
task, it takes a certain
I
contractor
mean,
to do
of all
something
the
like
lots,
that.
that was probably the least desirable.
I had to
Oh,
go
absolutely.
on Sound Shore Road, we had to go one time for the table of Tito, like 80 feet, we were training
For a sanitary
for the sanitary, yeah.
I called it, this was a lot.
So 35, you can do it
I'm
with an
not opposed
excavator.
to the shot. I think if we wanna preserve these pieces, you gotta give the applicant as much money as you can to entice them to preserve the land.
And I'm strictly speaking from an engineering perspective, I'm not saying that, you know, I was just speaking to the comment that keeps coming up, which is soil conditions, it's the soil conditions, and soil conditions are the same here as they are over there, and you're talking about you can't put a subsurface. Because the area of the leaching pools is much smaller, and the area of a recharge basin, there's a different design criteria too. If you do a recharge basin, we've gotta do probably an 8-inch design. Whereas with a leaching pool system, you have to do.
You
I
mean you
think,
wouldn't have to dig as deep?
Yeah, I mean, it's a naturally lower than, you know, up here further.
Yeah, but if you look where the leaching pools are proposed, this is at the same elevation as these.
Yeah, but not the northern
Right,
ones.
these are northern, but this is only half of the pools. I'm just telling
I
you that it's
think,
less material to remove than it is
I
to
think this
recharge.
conversation needs to take place when Vinnie's here. I really do.
I think
Okay.
the board should visit the area.
Could I,
It should
But
be.
Vinnie
there was
needs to be
another,
here.
there was another point.
Sure.
Aside from the fact of the soil conditions, et cetera, that where you have the recharge was a lot. Someone was gonna have to live there with the wetlands at the bottom, huge slopes. The question was building that and making it accessible as a buildable, saleable lot.
Right, I never heard that question, but that's a buildable lot.
That's what came up at the last
Oh,
time you were
okay.
here.
That's a
When-
buildable lot,
when we
yeah,
were
it's,
here.
that's
Okay.
just.
I think we're missing the
I think
point.
that's a
The
buildable lot.
question
'cause
was,
That's easy, yeah.
if you take the lot out and make this a recharge basin, solve your drainage problem.
Stan, I think we might be caught before the horse. I think the goal here is to try to preserve the piece of property the applicant wants to get as much money as he can to do that, which I understand. If he does not get, the property bought, this isn't gonna be, or that's not gonna be
Right.
the actual. So debating all these little issues that are never gonna take place anyway, almost seems like a waste of
It may
money.
or may not, but
It may or
I
may,
think
it may or may not.
Right,
If we
it may or may
approve
not,
it-
but I think-
If we approve it, then it can.
I
We've
kinda
gotta,
doubt.
we've gotta make a resolution.
And
so
I'm,
we can take
I'm
that
on
to
your
something.
side.
I know- I know.
I'm on your side, by the way. Just, I think we need Vinnie to be here to take a look at it, and to advise the board, because if you can get the 14th lot, I agree. From day one, I told you, I knew what your intents were, so, But once we approve it, if we approve it, it can get the.
This is, sketch plan, right? We're going for?
This is yield, this is
Yield,
yield.
I'm sorry, yield.
This is
Once you
just-
approve the yield, when we go from yield, you go to preliminary. So you guys don't have a vehicle to bring you back to 13 on preliminary?
I'm not sure you want a resolution that has a
A
condition
caveat.
that says it's a 14, but really when you come back, it's gonna be a 13, and I think
I see what you
you
mean.
want
Yeah,
it to
right.
say.
You
it.
don't
You gotta
want that.
approve a 14 or
Right.
13, whatever the number.
You don't wanna go to the
Okay.
county with that.
Could maybe Vinnie
Right.
and the engineer discuss it, and then have Vinnie give a report, rather than have Vinnie come and work this all out?
I'm fine to talk to Vinnie if,
yeah, I just don't wanna have him come back and still have questions and him not be here. So certainly work out as much as you can with him, but he should be here when when they come back.
The next time for the vote?
Mhm.
Yep.
That's fine.
I still can't see this as a buildable, a saleable lot. That's why I think this is the way to go.
We have the guy with the license that's
I
telling us
never
it
knew
is
that
a
was an issue,
buildable
that's
lot.
the first time I'm hearing it, but I wasn't here last time, but it's not written in anything that
No,
I was,
that's when
you know.
you were here with the one.
Because Vinnie didn't put that in his report, he just wrote,
Oh, I know.
that he was concerned about the soil conditions, and that's an easy, fix, if you wanna call it that for me. It's no problem. In fact, I've got 11 subdivisions right there, and there's at least 2 of them that are in this area that had soil that would have had to have gone down to, when they were constructed. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy, so I looked a whole bunch of them.
Crane
Crazy.
delay, it's a crane delay.
Well, you can do cutting rings too, so there's a.
So I think-
When, go ahead.
Well, we'll get Vinnie in touch with Doug, have them have a conversation, come to some sort of consensus, maybe prepare a report for the board, have them back at the next meeting, have this discussion again with Vinnie present. And I mean, at that point, if the board's amenable to whatever the resolution is, maybe I can have a resolution in advance of it.
Ready.
We can amend the number of lots and, we can amend the resolution, just so that we're not, wasting more time.
It
again.
would behoove the board to look at this property.
Yeah.
That's it.
We could certainly do that before the next meeting.
It is an interesting piece. When I did a site visit there, I think I came up.
That's
there's
the
like-
lot I'd want, to be honest with you.
There's a
That's the
very
one I
clear
want.
line. I don't know if it's evidence of historical logging, but the character of the woodlands changes. It's like walking from one forest into a completely different
Yeah.
area, so it is
We need the
pretty.
back area?
Yeah, there's a line, like you cross it, it's like you're in a different,
Where is Vinnie today, by the way?
Huh?
Vinnie,
historically.
You know what
yeah.
happened to Vinnie today?
Vinnie wasn't available today, or? All right, well,
Okay.
speak to him
Yeah.
and
I mean, I won't reach out, I'll wait for his call. and-
Yeah, I'll give Vinnie a call,
Deal
I'll have
again.
him have him
Yeah, we
reach
can
out
talk
to you.
about it, we'll talk all the time.
And then, when's the next work session? 2 weeks?
November 7th.
what's a meeting, but
Well, I mean,
we could put it on.
yeah, I mean, just, we're not waiting until the middle of November.
Right.
I'm pretty confident they can get this buttoned up and,
2
like I
weeks.
said, have a resolution ready for it. If we need to amend a resolution on the floor, we can do that.
Okay, so we'll try for the next meeting.
You have a partner on this too, right?
Yeah, Pete. Okay.
All right,
All right, guys.
thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Gentlemen, ladies?
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, you can't, it's so rough, yeah.
Okay, before we go to the resolutions, is there any public comment on any of the resolutions? Come up to the podium, state your name and...
That's a squeeze on that property, but that many lots.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Jesus Martin, and I know over here against the resolution that we applied before on the stop shop sound wall that have been created to prevent such as noise. But over here, I has noticed something else, which really annoyed me because they add something like a cogeneration energy unit. I don't believe that should be done that way. Because if we allow they put a generator in there, that means they will get the benefits, but we're going to be affected more than before.
Well, if you looked, not only are you gonna have the 15-foot wall with the sound abatement, it's gonna be 8 foot around the generator with sound abatement there. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that, but one thing that I can notice is that if they put the generators, we're going to be affected 24/7, every day, 24 hours.
Well, it's an emergency generator. right?
Snowstorm.
Yeah, it's a cogeneration system, so it's not necessarily a backup generator. I mean, as the board said, they are proposing an 8-foot fence around here. One of the conditions of approval was that 8-foot fence needs to include the same sound attenuation material. You know, that was not clearly indicated, but, I mean, based on the location of the unit, I had some notes, I think it was like over 200 feet away from the closest residence.
Did you understand that there was gonna be sound attenuation around that also?
No, I
In
wasn't
addition
aware
to
of
the
that.
wall?
If
Maybe you could point it
gets-
out to me.
Yeah.
We're putting
It's
a
in
lot
the- it's in the
of
resolution.
sound attenuation on the building itself, too.
So it doesn't bounce off, right?
It's in here somewhere, I read it. That wall's gonna make a big difference.
Yeah.
That's right.
Didn't we?
70 decibels at 6 feet.
At 6 feet, but
At 6 feet, at 70 decibels. So,
but
I
that's
mean,
without the,
that's without any sort of sound attenuation,
Right.
that's just the unit of itself. So I mean, 70 at 6 feet, I'm, you know, don't purport myself to be a sound engineer, but when you start getting 200 feet away, I would imagine that number would be significantly below
With 2 sound barriers.
with two,
Yeah,
with
but
sound.
when you say significant, what does that mean anyway? That means it's going to create some more sounds on it?
Well, so there are limits established in, you know, regarding decibel levels in the town code. I wanna say.
we asked those questions when they were here.
Yeah,
Which is routinely violated, by the way.
yeah. I have some of the sound sense studies here.
And that's one of the reasons the wall went up as well, so that.
Correct, I mean, that's what,
So the past violations can be taken care of.
If you had something out like that out in the open, could bounce off the wall of the building, we've even taken into consideration the building itself. So it's not going to.
Goes up, yes.
I understand, but there's also sound, attenuation on the building itself.
I understand that. We're talking about how it's gonna be constantly running.
That's right.
This is cogeneration, I don't know that it would be constantly running.
Well, you don't know, that's.
I don't know, I didn't read the report, I can't remember the report from when.
Obviously, it's for them to save energy, to save on their electric, so they could be using it constantly.
Yeah, my point of view is, yeah, it's fine for them to put a generator because made them save money, but instead of that, we're going to be affected. That's my point of view.
Well, if you can't hear it, what would be the difference?
That's right.
Well, we
70
asked those
decibels.
questions when they were
We
here.
just told you,
They didn't answer, all they said was it would be 400 feet away, and they would have,
No, I believe they told us it would be compliant within the decibel level,
yeah.
town code.
compliant.
That's what I'm finding right now.
Do you hear the trucks?
65 decibels?
Oh,
You
yes.
hear the trucks? Well, you're not going to hear the trucks
Right.
because the
Yeah.
trucks
I
are going to
believe
go
it's
another
60.
way now.
You don't understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're
I'm talking
saying.
about a 24/7 sound.
But
That's
that-
like having a ringing in your ear. It doesn't No. have to be loud. No, It it's just not has to gonna be like that. annoying.
What's a measurement of 70 decibels? Does anybody know? I mean, what would that be? What could we use as
A comparison?
yes, a comparison to it? Is that a running engine? Is that a,
70 decibels, normal conversation at 3 to 5 feet.
did you hear what he said?
What else?
Normal conversation at 3 to 5 feet is 70 decibels. This is 200 feet now, to get to you.
Yeah.
Plus,
yeah.
plus sound attenuated.
Plus, we have sound proofing.
Right, it's obviously,
I mean,
you don't, yeah.
if you'd like to see the manufacturer's cut sheet, which,
Yeah.
Just come up and state your name, please.
Man, we're stuck in English.
Hi, Brian Stark, owner of Glenwood. I've been working with the residents, as you know. So what we've done, just to let you guys know, is we've been through the Sound Sense study, which was engineers that were hired by the town that are sound engineers who do this for a living, and they were aware of the cogeneration fuel cells that were going in on the west side of the east side of the building, which are further away from the homes than the loading docks and the Peapod operation. So the solar cell, the fuel cells are further away from your home and will be buffered by an absorbing sound wall that was recommended by SoundSense, in addition to the sound wall that's going up along our common border, which is 15 feet high. So the material that's gonna be on there is gonna lower the decibel reading to within the parameters of the town code. So to answer your question, the reduction will be lower and compliant with the town code. But with regard to the fuel cells, which are new, we don't know how much sound they're gonna make, because I'm not sure how much they're gonna run, but there will be a wall there, and it's gonna be further away from your home than the existing noise that's being generated. So you have distance, and you have a sound wall that's compliant with the town code. So, what's that? Well, alls I can say is for 10 years, we've worked on this with Stop and Shop. I've worked on it. So I want to protect my property like you want to protect your property. We have a joint interest. So I wouldn't agree to this if I thought that it was going to hurt my property value and thus hurt your property value. So there really are a few buts because there's no guarantees, but I can tell you that the sound will be significantly reduced. They're not going to go away. We know that Stop and Shop's not going to move their operations. We are talking about something new, but they made us aware of it, and the sound engineers addressed it. So you may not like that, but that was the agreement that I made to protect our interest. So I don't know what more we can do other than that they, as a neighbor, made us aware of what they were doing. We brought in experts to study it, and that's what we agreed on. What more can we do? Well, that's not gonna happen.
Okay, so it's like take it or leave it.
If that's the way you're
I think it's gonna
taking
be
it,
much
I mean, you
better,
know,
I really
we're
do.
doing everything we can to try to make it work.
So, you see, excuse me, my point of view is this.
You have to come up to the microphone, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I understand whatever, we discussing, but now what kind of maintenance you gonna have after you got it on?
What kind of maintenance?
Yes.
They have to be
Do a-
compliant with the
yeah,
approval.
in case, let's say, something break down.
Yeah, they have to
That's
fix
something
it.
that we would
Put
have
in
to
the
know.
contract
Let's say
that
something
they
could break down or whatever, start creating more noise than it used to be. So do you have to take consideration to have somebody to keep the maintenance?
If it breaks down and the
Yeah.
wall deteriorates, the neighbors are gonna call, code enforcement will come down, they'll be in site plan violation, and they're gonna have to fix it.
Okay.
I think they're trying to be a good neighbor
All
by
right.
doing this.
Yes, sir.
And I personally, I know you don't agree, but I think it's gonna make a huge difference, I honestly do, that's my opinion.
All right. Thank you.
My name is Liz Hammond. Can I get the specifics on what the acoustic barrier is gonna be around this cogenerator? Is it just a wall, or is it caged in?
It's a sound wall.
It's
Sound
just a
suppression.
wall?
No, it sounds
It's
suppression.
a-
Or is
it's
it
a
boxed
chain link
in?
fence
Is
with
it,
a sound
It's
wall
gonna be an
attached.
8-foot-high chain link fence with a sound attenuating material. We don't have a sample of it here right now, the applicant has brought
But
it in,
it's the
but
same as-
it's an engineered material, it's sort of like a,
It's the same as going on a 15-foot wall.
so it'll be boxed in, basically?
Correct.
yeah, there's gonna be no roof, but yes, it'll be 8-foot tall,
And-
chain link fence with this sound attenuating material, which is engineered to specifically reduce sound levels.
Okay, and the dimension on this generator?
Don't have those, I don't have a scale on me to.
Rough guess.
Yeah,
Probably, I'd say 10 by 70.
70.
Long,
It's fairly big.
long.
Yeah, it's fairly large.
Talking about the wall, right?
Oh,
No,
the wall?
no, not the wall, I'm talking about the
actual
unit.
itself. I mean, would you like to see the picture?
Why don't you?
No, it's not necessary. All right, I think it's gonna be okay, actually. If
Well, I
not,
mean,
if
all-
not,
All of your concerns, we asked similar questions when they were here, and they answered them adequately. I mean, can we guarantee if an engineer designs something, that it's gonna be perfectly as to what they've told us? I guess we can't guarantee
No,
that, but,
no.
you know, if there's a violation as far as the decibels, well then, you know, they're in violation of the site plan.
So we'll deal with that then. I just wanted to make sure we weren't substituting one problem for another. Putting
I
up the
don't
wall
think
was
so.
a great thing, and I just hope, like I said, we're not substituting one problem for another, but we'll see how it plays out. Thank you.
Brian Stark, one more thing. So in addition to the wall at the various locations, just to be clear, there's going to be a sound wall on the border of our properties. There's going to be sound walls at the loading docks, the Peapod, and the fuel cells. In addition to the wall, which is going to run from Mill Road to just past your house on the west side, we're also going to plant trees at the cost of Stop and Shop's cost. And further, that will buffer in the future, I would imagine, the evergreens that we're gonna plant, the lelands, are going to also be around the wall. So the height of the wall will aesthetically cut down any sight lines. The noise reduction material will cut down some of the noise. And the trees that we plant will just get bigger and broader, and, you know, they will attenuate the sound as well. So we've taken into account, you know, things that could happen over there on their side of the fence to try to alleviate the noise. Will the noise go away? No, the noise isn't gonna go away. That's unrealistic, you know. Is it gonna be reduced within town code? Yes. So that's all we can guarantee. That's all I could do. For 10 years, I fought with Stop and Shop to get this. And they finally agreed to do it. Is it perfect? No. Is it gonna reduce the noise to within the town code? Yes. Thanks. Well,
It's
the
in
board
the
will probably tell us.
resolution that gets done first.
Are they changing the location of their trucks?
No, they have to go through the process, building permits and all that.
They,
But,
the,
They will do the wall first, so.
I think we did work on a one-way.
Yeah, they did revise the traffic plan to stay out of the need for a variance situation. So as we discussed at the planning board when we had this at work session, trucks will now enter on Mill Road. It's gonna be one way traveling west behind the building. They'll offload and then they would travel back out to Old Country Road.
So, yes, so to answer your question, that's what we addressed at the last meeting, so that hopefully will reduce some of the flow as well. So that should help.
Thank you.
And thank you for your help.
Thank you. Any other comments, public comments on resolutions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before you begin, the applicant on Villas would like the board to just adopt the resolution that's before you, the 13. They've huddled in there.
Yeah, they didn't have, couldn't reach his partner, and when they discussed, not my purview necessarily as an engineer, but I understand that their time with the county is short, so they'd rather not wait a few weeks, and
So they wanna go to 13.
They'd like the resolution adopted
I
as.
always walk out the door,
So-
and no.
So you're saying that, and you
They
could,
don't wanna wait for the 14 or 16.
Yeah, I thought he was in here, but yes,
you could certify that you're saying that with his approval?
yes.
Okay.
Just to clarify further.
Yeah, there is no resolution for the 13 lot yield map. I don't know
It
if.
would be on for the next meeting in any event. See, so I think with that.
Okay, so we're not,
So I think with that information.
we may have time to talk to him.
Talk to
Okay.
Vinnie, and so
I
if,
thought it was,
if,
our resolution was drafted.
if it isn't resolved satisfactorily,
Right,
go with the.
We're gonna go with something that's released, for sure.
Yes.
thank you.
Dan, I just wanted to clarify, item number 7, resolution number 7, that was on as tentative.
Right.
And it's not prepared, I wasn't able to.
Okay, so we're not acting on it?
No.
Okay.
So if I just, based on comments from the Stop and Shop, I may recommend just including one condition, that the sound attenuating material must be kept in working order, including but not limited to repairing tears, repairing seams.
When we get to that
Makes sense.
resolution, I also have a couple little amendments.
Okay.
I would like to talk to the board quickly about the first resolution, okay? Which is which we tabled from our last meeting, 406 Osborne, okay? The resolution before you has different numbers for the square footage of the units and our minutes from the last meeting. And Mr. Kramer made this, he said the units would be from 631 to 708, that's in our minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Our resolution has the old numbers.
Okay,
I
so
know-
Of 500.
I noticed that.
I would like to clarify. So
And now,
if-
wait, let me finish. I know we've spoken to you. Now, I've been trying to get a hold of Tom Kramer, who was here at our meeting. I tried it yesterday, tried today. I've not been able to get a hold of him. I'd just like to see if we could table this once more to straighten this out. Because I know I've been asking at the public hearing and our discussion meetings about the size. And when he said it at our last meeting, I really turned around and said, thank you. Okay. Now, what Greg has is the latest plan which shows the old numbers, or what I consider to be the old numbers. So I'd like to just straighten that out before we get to final approval.
So if I could, I'll just clarify. There was a previous plan, I believe the preparation date of it for the floor plan was around April of 2018. That April 2018 floor plan did have units ranging from, whatever Mr. Bear said.
527 to
Well, no,
680.
The
the
April
new one.
2018
Yeah,
plan
six-
had the 627.
Yes,
Right.
that's
The
Right.
current plan, which is referenced in the resolution, the preparation date, has the smallest unit is 527, and they range up to 680. So the language contained within the resolution is accurate
Yeah.
to the plans that
I'm
were
not saying
submitted,
it
and
isn't.
that's what we are,
I'm
that's what
saying
the
there's a
board would be voting
discrepancy
on.
with what we
But
say
that's not
in the
what we agreed
minutes.
to.
All right.
He agreed to it, to what
Yeah.
Joe had recommended
Right.
when they were here.
Right.
Okay.
So would
So-
we like
What
to
was the
have-
date on this?
This was November 5th, 2018.
So,
2018.
2018, and the previous plan with the 630 was April of 2018.
18.
So as the plans were revised, one of the units did get smaller.
So all I'm saying is, in 2 weeks, we'll clarify the situation. I'll get a hold of Tom Kramer and have Tom talk to you as well, okay? And just, we table it once more.
Well, so my question, if we
Where
come
we're
back,
on
no,
number 1, Osborne.
First one.
Pulaski Street, that apartment and stores.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but it's already tabled.
No, it was tabled from the last.
It was tabled from 2 meetings
Take it
ago.
off the table, leave it on the table.
Yeah.
So, if the goal is to, you know, if the goal is to have the applicant reduce the number of apartments,
No, just the square footage.
Increase.
Just to change this, well, what it'll do is take the larger one and make it
Make it
smaller,
smaller.
that's all. We're still gonna have 6.
And that's what he agreed to when he was here.
I'd love to have him go to 5, but,
all right.
that's
So
pushing the
we'll
envelope.
have him come back to the next meeting?
Then he's gotta do all the.
Well,
No,
I don't know that he has to come back, but the resolution has to reflect what he agreed to the last time he was here. If he's not in agreement with that, then he should come back. But I wanna ask, is there anything else? Because we've kinda had him back several times.
Yeah. Oh, I'm prepared to vote now, I'm just not sure if I'm voting for it. I'm not really, I know it's less than a half acre, 6 units, retail, and that's allowed, even though it's a lot, it's allowed. But even though we brought the elevations a lot better than where it started, I'm not that happy, so I'm not sure where I'm at.
There was also a question about the parking spaces, which I think they clarified.
Well, I think they got, relief from the zoning board for 2 spots.
Yeah, that would enable them to make the.
Bigger.
Larger.
They got relief for it.
2 spots in the parking.
To make him bigger.
But they have that town lot in the back, right, I get it.
So Dick, are you suggesting that we not table it again?
No, leave it tabled.
Yeah, it's on the table.
Just do nothing with it, stay on the table.
Okay.
Just
okay.
pass on it.
Okay, just pass on it.
They were too short, so we went to zoning board for relief for 2 spots.
Do you need a motion to do that?
No,
Do we need a motion to do that?
it just
Just
stays.
skip it?
Just skip it.
Stan, you said make them bigger?
Okay.
No,
The,
the units.
in order to make the parking bigger, they had to get the variance for the 2 less spots. The number of them had to be reduced, so that, cause we wanted the bigger spots.
Right,
He did that.
okay.
Okay, so
In your recalculation.
we're gonna leave, resolution 89 on the table
Where was he
tonight.
gonna get that?
Any discussion on
Takes the big
the
one,
Stop
right?
and Shop?
Just makes it
Yeah, I've got a couple issues, and I think Greg's got an issue. On
submitted a plan.
item number 2, where it says, the Mylar site plan for the fuel cell shall be revised to show a minimum of 8-foot tall chain link fence with QB22 acoustical barrier material around, and I wanna put a spot in there, all sides of the proposed fuel cell. Because like George said, if you have sound bouncing off a wall, so the sound barrier should actually go all the way around. And then I wanna add one that says signage such as hours of operation and no idling, be posted clearly in the area.
I think there's a state law about how long you can idle a diesel truck is 5 minutes, if I recall.
I don't know, but they don't care, they let them sit in there forever.
But
Oh, yeah.
you can pick it down, no idling more than 5 minutes. Is there a need to idle the motors while they load the truck?
No, there isn't, but they do. Like in the wintertime
Well,
when it's
does
cold.
Winter time.
Keep the heat on.
Or to keep
Or
the
keep the air
refrigeration
conditioning
going,
on.
maybe?
Well, that's the
Diesels are very
refrigerator,
tough,
that's separate.
especially in cold weather.
I just think a little signage, to reinforce what we're doing wouldn't hurt.
So signage regarding idling, hours of operation.
Yeah. And the sound barrier on all 4 sides.
Mylar site plan for the fuel cell shall be revised to show a minimum 8-foot tall chain link fence with a QB22 acoustical barrier material around
All
all
sides.
sides.
Yep.
That'll be as amended of the proposed fuel cell.
And then you had one you wanted to bring, right?
Yeah, and I would just say, just as a general condition, I mean, it could be, in between number 1 and 2, that the sound attenuating material must be kept in working order, including but not limited to repairing tears, repairing seams, etc.
Okay.
All that said,
I'll move resolution 93
okay, second the motion?
as
Yeah.
amended.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 93 for Stop and Shop sound wall and fuel cell as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved.
Did we put the first resolution to a vote?
It just stays on the table
Stay
tonight.
that way?
It'll probably come up at the next meeting.
All right, I'll do number 3, 498 Main Road. Schedule a public hearing November 7th, 2019 on a preliminary site plan application convert an existing two-story, 1,327 square foot single residence into an office.
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 94 for 498 Main Road, scheduled public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved.
I'll move Resolution 95, Calverton Distribution, Route 25 LLC, approving a four-lot minor industrial subdivision. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 95 for Calverton Distribution, LLC. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. 96.
I'll move 96 as well. Elahi, how do we pronounce it? Elahi, Chapter 219, determination, the 219 determination. So moved.
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 96 for Elahi, Chapter 219 for a secret determination. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll move resolution number 97, which approves preliminary site plan for Blue Water Development.
Second motion?
As amended.
As amended.
Sorry, as amended.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 97 as amended for Blue Water Development. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved.
Number 8, Holly Estates, resolution scheduled public hearing on a 3-lot minor of an existing 5.59 acre parcel located at 5314 Parker Road.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 99 to schedule a public hearing for Holly Estates. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Move resolution number 100 for the Tara Development to schedule public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 100, schedule a public hearing for Tara Development. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved. Any public comment? Don't have anybody left.
Make a motion that we move the minutes of the October 3rd, 2019 planning board meeting. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve October 3rd minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted. No executive session. Next meeting is November 7th at 7 PM. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.